Good morning everybody. We're just out on a 14-mile hike today, so we are.
Yep.
Part of the West Highland Way training. Coffee break time. We'll be having a soup break time later on.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing an update on what our route is going to be on the West Highland Way. Sorry. We're going to do an update on our stops, resupply locations on the route.
The great outdoors.
Loving it.
That one did cut you to the bone today, so it would if you didn't have the right stuff on.
Oh, you need your winter woolies on the day. Although the sun's out, there's a bitter cold wind there, but we're loving it.
Aye, fleeces. It's good to have layers.
We've got a guest with us today. We've got Sam McKee with us today, so we have.
Aye. How do folks?
We tell them we're just going on a walk, but we never tell them it was a 14-mile hike.
Oh, didn't it, eh? Oh, didn't it?
He's got no choice now, he's got to go the full way.
Aye, Sam's a fellow hiker with us. He's been getting that dog. That dog's been taking him out for a walk and training him, so it is.
Get them out and about.
Aye. What a lovely day, isn't it? Great to be outdoors, lads. Great to be outdoors.
Spectacular. We're doing a nice wee favourite route hours around Clatter and Shawsloch.
In the Galloway Hills.
Lovely.
Aye, sure. Yep.
Right, time for a packet of crisps. And we'll bring his back when we're stopping off at different wee locations. And then we'll get the map out and I'll show you our route and our stops. Our sort of mileages and all that for the day and things like that. Just to kind of give everybody an idea of your resupply areas. This is us at the halfway mark. We've done 7 mile. We've got another 7 mile to do. We'll be due our tomato soup break just shortly. We're going to find a nice shelter bit. Oh, what a beautiful area. "14-mile hike, training for the West Highland Way." Ah, you've been conned, alright. You've got neither ifs nor buts. You've got to walk all the way back now. Your mommy's not got to come and get you and tuck you home. Alright everybody, that's us just back for our 14-mile hike. It took us 5 hours. We had a couple of wee breaks, but nothing major. So really we're looking at doing a 14-mile hike with your full kit on the West Highland Way. You're looking at about an 8-hour hiking day, 8 hour. So if you get up at 6 o'clock and then we leave it around about 7 o'clock, that gives you 5 hours for then till 12 and then another 3 hours for 12 till 3, so you're looking at finishing about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon by the time we do some stops and all that. So you're looking at an 8-hour hiking day, but that's an easy day, so it is, and that just gives you a rough idea of what we're going to be doing. We've done a wee map here, just try and focus it in, that gives us a rough idea of our journey and resupply areas. Right, first day we've got Milage. Okay, now for there we're going to be heading to Dryman. That's a 12 miles from Milage to Dryman. Now what we'll do is I'll send the times when we start at Milage, and then from there 7 miles in we're going to hit the Beech Tree Inn. From Milage 7 miles we're going to stop there at the Beech Tree Inn. We're going to have a pint and probably something to eat. Then we're going to do the remainder of the miles over to Dryman, where we can get to a shop and get a bottle of wine and whatever. There's stores and all that and pubs in Dryman. But what we're probably going to do is going a wee bit further up the trail into some woods and camp there just before we get our Connacht Hill. So that's our plan. So we'll have had something to eat at the Birch Tree Inn, but we will supply in Dryman to get wee bit knickknacks and a bottle of wine to last us at night time. Now we're going to camp somewhere in a wee wooded area. Now the next day is going to be round about a 14-mile day. This one here is probably going to be a wee bit more than 12 miles. The next day we're planning on going, there's Balmaha there, it's 14 mile for Dryman to River Dennin, 14 mile for Dryman to River Dennin. Now in between there is Balmaha, so we're going to be going over Connick Hill and we'll supply at Balmaha. Okay, now after Balmaha there's some campsites a wee bit further on before you get to River Dennin, so we can either camp in a campsite or we can just head on over towards River Dennin where I think there's some campsites as well, or there's some wooded areas and all that where we can maybe camp, because there's Ben Lomond, and once you get to the Ben Lomond car park round about River Dennin, just beyond it, that is the end of the camping restriction zone. The camping restriction zone is for Connick Hill, which is just before Balmaha, up until you get to the car park at River, just beyond the River Dennin, where Ben Lomond is. So that's the camping restriction zone there. So we're going to miss that. Now, in between there and River Dennin, there's a couple of wee campsites. You've got Cashel and you've got Milage where they've got wee shops, but there's a store in Balmaha where we can resupply here for the next night. Now the next journey is to Inverarnon, which is 14 mile. Now Inverarnon Hotel, in between there, in between River Dennin, there's a wee hotel there where you can get a bite to eat, depending on where we're camping. We might be too early, but as I say, we're going to have some resupply for here, and then we'll get a wee bite to eat in the pub. Now this stretch here over to Inverarnon, there's a campsite at Inverarnon. Now I don't know too much about this because I've always just passed through it, so I have, but I'm quite sure we can resupply round about there, but if not we'll resupply at Balmaha or Milage campsite, which is round about here. Now let me see. Now for there for Inverarnon to Tindrum, Inverarnon to Tindrum, halfway in between there, there's a wee sort of halfway mark where we're going to be meeting Eddie Scott's Wild Camper. He comes up for Crane Larach, so he does. Now at Tindrum there's plenty of shops at Tindrum, so there is absolutely, there's even a wee campsite before you get to Tindrum. What is it, Cardigan? We stop there quite often, so we do, because it's got a nice wee shop and you're always guaranteed. It's got a nice wee campsite there, and I'll try and remember the name of it. If I can't read it now, then I will put it up in Strathwillan Wigwams. That's at Strathwillan Wigwams. It's about 2 mile before Tindrum, and it's a good wee bit for camping as well, so it is. So that stretch there is about 12 mile for Inverarnon to Tindrum. The next stretch, Tindrum to Inverarnon, which is a 9, that's a 9 mile day, so it is. We'll probably do a wee bit further, but you've got the Bridge at Orkney Hotel in between there, so we can stop off and have a cup of tea before we're going up over the hill to Inverarnon, where there's a hotel as well and a wee campsite there as well. Camping at the back of there before we start going over Rannoch Moor. So that'll be a 9 mile day, and then the next stretch over to the King's House is 10 mile. Now the King's House we can get a bite to eat there as well, so we can. It's not got a shop, but we can get a bite to eat there and all that. So we're probably looking to resupply at Tindrum, and then we'll get a cup of tea at Bridge of Orkney. And as I say, we're always going to be carrying maybe a couple of pot noodles and a couple of wee porridges and all that as emergency food. But we're going to get a bite to eat, hopefully at the Inverarnon Hotel, and then we'll get a bite to eat at the King's House as well. So we will. Then after that, the next day, over to Kinlochleven is 9 mile. We will be staying at Kinlochleven, so we will. That's a 9 mile hike and all that. And you've got, of course, between the King's House and Kinlochleven, you've got the Devil's Staircase. You just took it slow, and it's not that bad, so it's not like, and so you get up there, and then you've got, I think the climb down into Kinlochleven is quite taxing on the legs because it's quite steep and it's quite long. So it is. But once you get into Kinloch Leaving, you've got two campsites there. So you've got Blackwater Foot campsite and you've got the McDonald campsite, I think it is. Plus you've got hotels and all that there anyway, like, so we're fine at Kinloch Leaving. And then of course the last day is a 16 miler into Fort William. So we'll supply at Kinloch Leaving because it's got shops and pubs and all that. And then we'll head for Fort William. Once we get to Fort William, what we'll do is we will stop at the campsite there. We'll walk right into Fort William, but then we'll come back and we'll stay at the campsite below Ben Nevis, so we will. And then the next day we'll get the train home. We're really looking at, as you can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. 8 days, that's roughly what we're going to do, and that's very enjoyable, very doable. You'll see that we've got some 9 mile days there. We've got some 9 mile days there, so we have again, but that's just a base figure. Like, so the first day 12 mile, we're probably going to do 14 mile. The next day is 14 mile, we can knock 2 mile off of that and just make a 12 mile, or we can do a couple of more mile, which will eat into the next day, if you know what I mean. Each day we can eat into the next day and all that. So we're really going to complete it in about 8 days, so which is really good, very enjoyable. So that's, again, a rough idea of where the supply points are. We'll arrive at Milage, and then we can supply at Dryman. Okay, and then for Dryman, we're going over the hill, Cornick Hill, and then we're going to hit Balmaha. We'll resupply Balmaha. Then we're probably going to stay between Balmaha and Riverdene. We're probably going to stay between there in a campsite, or we'll head on to Riverdene and then stay there. The next in between Riverdene and you've got Inversnaid Hotel in between there. We'll stop for a cup of tea. You've got Rowcoish Bothy in between there as well. We can actually probably stay in there as well if we want to stay overnight. But there's plenty of wee wooded bits and all that, so there is that you can camp. Really nice and all that. And then over to Inverarnon. And then, of course, we'll meet up with Eddie, head over to Tyndrum. But we might stay at Strathwelling campsite, which is just before Tyndrum, because it's a lovely place, so it is really good. And then we'll pass by Tyndrum, get a bite to eat the next morning, so we'll get a nice breakfast here and all that. And then we'll be heading over towards the bridge at Orkney, where we will get a cup of tea and stop for a break and all that, and then we'll head over to Inveronan Hotel. We'll camp out, well camp by the bridge, and you can get a bite to eat in there, so you can. Then after that, it's across Ranach Moor, which is absolutely lovely, and then probably camp out at the back of the King's House, so we will, which is free camping, and use the King's House to get something to eat, which will be good. And then from there, our to Kinloch Leaving, which is magic. You've got plenty to eat there, plenty of stores and everything. And then, of course, on the last day, our to Fort William, magic. So that is our trip in a nutshell. 8 days we're looking to do it, guys. It's got to be, it's tough. I'm not going to say it's easy, it's tough. But it's got to be enjoyable because of the way we split it up with the mileages, okay? So I hope this video helps. I'm going to have a couple of emergency pot noodles in. I'll always have a couple of emergency pot noodles in, and a couple of wee porridge, a couple of wee tubs of porridge. Okay, so that's where, there's the map there of what we're planning on doing. Now there's got to be honesty boxes on the way as well, where you can get chalky bars and stuff like that, and cans of Coke and stuff. So definitely, and the showers and I can, if you get to a bit in a campsite, we stay there and you get showers and everything, and washing machines. So recommended, talk about £20 worth of £1 coins, and some 20p pieces in a £1 coins. That's for honesty boxes and showers. £1 coins and some 20p pieces and that, you know, and you can't go wrong with that. So hope that helps. We've enjoyed our 14-mile hike. And there's plenty of supply drops, plenty of places where we can get bites to eat, so you don't have to carry much food. If you're going to carry anything, maybe carry enough for a night or something like that. You don't need much at all, because we can resupply on the journey.